welcome back here. In this video, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to explain to you the simple task of how to open up a paint can and properly transfer it to my cut ball bucket so that we don't make a mess and like whatnot. So the tools for the job, I have a 5-in-1. I have a paper towel that I wetted down, okay? I have a brush here, and then this is my cut ball bucket. Now, whenever you cut in, you only want to load up the bottom third of the paintbrush. You don't want to get the paint all up here, because then it ruins the brush, and then it's harder to clean out, okay? And you're just going to make more of a mess. So you always want to put the paint on the lower part of the brush. And the key to do that, or a tip or a technique to ensure that you do that, is to only pour enough paint so that if you screw up and I put the bristles to the bottom of this, it's still only going to load up a third of the brush. If you pour like half of this gallon into this, and then you're working and you're not paying attention, and you dip it down and you screw up, then you're going to load up the whole brush. And then once you do that, then you don't want to do that, okay? So to open up and to pour the paint, there's a lot of confusion as to what is the easiest way to do that. I've seen a bunch of videos that say to pop the lid off and then drill holes in it, whatnot, to put tape on the inside of this to create a V so you don't get any paint that comes down the side or any paint that gets inside the rim of the paint here. There's contraptions or gimmicks that you can buy at the hardware store where you put something attached to it. And yeah, you can do all that, but it's more time. You have to go out and buy all that stuff. So I'm just going to show you a very simple technique that I have used since the first day that I started to paint. So to open up the can, you can either use a screwdriver, or I'm using a 5-in-1 tool here, and I'm using that tip of it here, and it's basically like the flat head to a screwdriver, okay? And I just go like this, and that gets the lid off. Now, this paint has already been shaken up, okay? I just got it. And so I don't need to stir up the paint, but it's very important to stir up the paint even after you got it from like the paint store, because sometimes it's not there's some of the colors and whatnot. So it's always important to stir the paint before each and every use, okay? So let's say that you pop open the can, you start to paint, and then you put the paint down for a few hours, and now you need more paint. Don't just go back to the can and pour it in there. You have to stir it up, because the thicker, more expensive paints like this, you have to always stir them back to get the color that you want. And if you don't, then the color is going to be off. So again, it's very important to always stir the paint before you pour it. But in this case, I had already done that, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just pour. I'm going to grab my brush here, okay? And I'm just going to pour probably a 1/2 inch in there, and okay, so I'm happy with that there. Then I stop it. Now there's paint that I have on the outside of the gallon here. I'm just going to use the brush to come up from the bottom up to the top and then drag it on the inside of the can. Now, yeah, there's paint that's right here, okay? And I forget what this area is called, but whatever. I'm just going to use the brush to work the paint out of that recessed area there, so that when we put the lid on it, it's not going to dry shut, okay? So I've gotten rid of all the paint that is in here, okay? And now there's obviously paint on the outside of the can, which is going to hinder my eye. So I'm not gonna be able to see that. So I'm going to take my wet paper towel here and start at the bottom and pull up, okay? And I'll just fold this like so. Okay, and that gets rid. So now you clean the label so you can still see the label or the instructions that are on the back of it. Okay, now I'd like the camera just to come closer here and look at the inside of this, where I use the brush, and I'll do this again, to just get rid of all that paint like that. So now when I put the lid on, the lid isn't going to get stuck, and we're not going to be able to remove the lid in the future anymore, okay? So that's all you got to do to pour the paint. Okay, so I hope that these tips and techniques will make you be able to pour your paint a lot easier without trying to use a lot of other tips that just create more of a mess. Okay, so it's very important to use a paper towel to clean the can, then to use the brush to get rid of the paint that's on the inside of the lid right there, so that when you put the top back on, the top won't be glued shut in the future, and then you won't be able to get the lid off, okay? So thank you very much, and I will see you on the next one.